On Sunday, August 2nd, we have the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Tomorrow, August 1st, is qualifying. But we're going to have, going into race weekend, before even qualifying, there are a few storylines I want to follow and talk about. Number one, the biggest story in Formula One right now is that Racing Point driver Sergio Perez tested positive for COVID-19. So he's out. And Sergio Perez is not going to be able to race for Racing Point for the next two races. August 2nd and August 9th, both at Silverstone. One is the British Grand Prix. One is the 70th anniversary race. He's not going to be able to be racing in either race because he's got to be quarantined and alone. And so Sergio Perez, this is the coolest thing I've heard in a long time, is going to be replaced by Nico Hülkenberg. Oh, it's awesome to me, man. He drove for Renault last year. He lost his seat to Esteban Ocon. And I have always felt, ever since I'm new to the sport, I get it. I've been following Formula One for like 7 months now. Not even that long. I discovered it like in November last year. So however long that is. Maybe that's like 9 months. I have no idea. But ever since I discovered Formula One and learned about Nico Hülkenberg, I felt really bad for Nico Hülkenberg because he's a talented driver who's always been on a bad team with a bad car. Look at history. Nico Hülkenberg has raced for Williams, Force India, not once, but twice. He raced for Sauber. He raced for Renault. Those are teams that are midfield teams at best. Williams is definitely not a midfield team. They're way worse and way lower. And Nico Hülkenberg is famous for never having a podium finish in Formula One. Since 2010, hasn't ever done it. And I blame the cars. It's frustrating to have a talented racer never really get a good enough opportunity with a good enough car. And then if people blame the racer for not being talented enough. It's like, oh, your car is trash. But now with Racing Point, you could argue that Nico Hülkenberg is going to have the third best car in Formula One behind Mercedes and Red Bull. And this is the opportunity I've waited for a long time with Nico Hülkenberg, where he finally has an opportunity to prove himself in a good car. And he's got 2 weekends to do it. The question is, how quickly can Nico Hülkenberg get comfortable in the Racing Point car? He hasn't driven it at all this year. He literally showed up right before FP1, the practice session. And so I don't know what Nico Hülkenberg can do. If it's not this weekend, he's got next weekend as well. Maybe it takes him a couple days to get in the groove. Sunday's a good practice race. Next Sunday, August 9th, he gets in groove. I'd love to see him get on a podium. Gosh, it'd be so cool. The other storyline about the British Grand Prix, really both of them right now, is that in the next 2 weekends, heat is going to be a really interesting topic of debate. Yeah, the temperature, the heat. It's the latest in the year an F1 race has ever been held at Silverstone in the UK. Friday, July 31st was the hottest day of the year in the UK. And in FP1, drivers had issues with their car tires blistering, and with the heat, they were losing traction. And the track conditions, because of the heat, have been really, really slick. And so I want to track that. How does heat affect the next 2 F1 races? I have no idea. Maybe a guy like Lewis Hamilton spins out, misses the race, loses out on all of his points he could possibly get, and it gives a guy like Max Verstappen a chance to move up in the rankings and make a really big push to push Mercedes. Now, the rest of the storylines for this race so far, remember, this is before qualifying. So we're going to be a little more generic tomorrow. We'll talk more about stuff. We'll see how qualifying goes in the morning. It's morning here. It's daytime for people in the UK. Remember, 6 a.m. here is like noon there, something crazy like that. The rest of the storylines this weekend are, can Max Verstappen challenge Mercedes? Mercedes is dominant. Can Red Bull and Max Verstappen make a push and, get behind them a little bit? Who's going to win the battle between McLaren and Racing Point? In my opinion, it's probably going to be a battle where they're fighting for third place. I don't know. It's really interesting. What's going to happen with Ferrari? So far this weekend, Sebastian Vettel's really struggled, had engine problems. He didn't race at all in FP1. He was on the track a little bit in FP2, had more engine problems. Who's better? Really, who's worse? Renault or Ferrari? I have no idea. And it's sad we have to ask that question. In the final, so far this weekend, another thing I'm curious about is Kimi Räikkönen. He's an F1 veteran. He's in a bad car in Alfa Romeo. But even in a bad car, he knows the track really well at Silverstone. Can he score points at Silverstone? I would love to see Kimi Räikkönen get some points and have a cool, a cool moment. It'd be really awesome. So those are the storylines I'm interested in following. But number one, man, I am so excited. 2 weekends in a row, we're going to get to watch Nico Hülkenberg finally in a good car. And I really hope it's good. Every fiber of my being would love to see Nico Hülkenberg finally get on a podium. And if he doesn't, I guess we can't be too hard because, again, he hasn't been racing in the Racing Point car all year. But I think it would definitely hurt if he doesn't get on the podium in this car. I don't know that I'll be one of these people, but I know some people out there are going to be, well, Nico Hülkenberg, the guy who, even in a good car, Racing Point, never could get on a podium. It does hurt his legacy a little bit. So then I want to see Nico Hülkenberg take advantage, do great, and maybe get himself a seat moving forward someday in Formula One.